Hi y'all, welcome to Petite Weaver Crafts episode 32. I'm recording here today on February 9th, 2017. For returning viewers, thank you so much for joining me, and for new viewers, this is a video podcast about knitting, spinning, weaving, sewing, quilting, pretty much all the crafty things that I could possibly get into. So for this week, I do have some stash, some finished objects, works in progress, and some more quilting. So let's get started. So first up, I just got back from a trip to DC for work. I did get a chance to stop by and take a peek at the White House, of course, and the National Mall. I got to spend a teeny bit of time in the Smithsonian Natural History Museum, as well as walking down to see the Lincoln Memorial, the Washington Monument, etc. So yeah, all in all, a good time. The weather was nice. I missed the snow, thank goodness. I grew up in Texas, in Houston actually, so I've never really had to deal with snow, and I think today the entire East Coast is being slammed with winter storms, and I'm just glad I got back out to sunny Los Angeles. It is a nice and toasty 70 degrees today. But yeah, so for stash, I went to a yarn shop in DC. It wasn't too far from my hotel. I was staying near Logan Circle. But yeah, I walked over to Looped Yarn Works and I picked up some dragonfly fibers that I've never. This is a dyer that is local to them. I usually like to stop by the local yarn store and pretty much just ask them what they have that is like generally local to them. And this skein is dragonfly fibers, dragon sock, and the colorway is Save the Tatas. It's a super fun color. I really like it, so I'm excited to have it. I don't know what I'm going to do with it yet. Maybe combine it with some other colors for a shawl. Who knows? I gravitated towards the color, so I picked it up, and I've never tried dragonfly fibers, so we'll see how this goes. So yeah, that's my only yarn purchase so far. I am going to Stitches later this month, so I've been pretty good about not purchasing too many things. Although I did impulsively purchase some more You Sew and Sew bags. I was tired and kind of sleepy and missing home and my dogs. And I saw this Instagram post about a see-through jumbo bag from her, so I managed to snag two of them, and they should be here by the next podcast episode. Next up is my finished object. I am so in love with this item. I finished this project when I was still in DC in my hotel actually. So here it is. You can see the garter detail on the shoulder and the rest of the body. This is a pattern by Joji Locatelli, and she does have a fingering weight version of this as well as a V-neck version of this. The worsted boxy is written as a bottom-up pattern in which then you kind of split and work the front and the back and then attach the sleeves. The sleeves are supposed to be a 3/4 sleeve, where this cuff is only about an inch long. I extended the cuff so that it actually hits right above my wrist. I just thought that the look would be a little bit better for my body shape. And yeah, it was a lot of fun. I'm not gonna lie, working in a square for that long. It's a little bit more work than I had anticipated, because since the sweater is so oversized, it was more knitting in worsted than I had previously experienced pretty much. I love the way this sweater turned out. And as a reminder, the yarn that I use is some yarn that I overdyed myself. The yarn was from my friend the Bonvivant, where she takes old sweater, unravels the yarn to repurpose and sell. She sells off of her Instagram, the Bonvivant, as well as in our local yarn store here called Gather, downtown LA. But anyway, the original color was this kind of light yellow color here. I took the skeins and I overdyed them with more of a warm mustardy yellow, which is kind of the darker yellow here. I speckled some reddish purple on top of the dye that I had done, and it resulted in these kind of darker brown spots. The color actually separated a little bit, so I'll have like some kind of pinkish spots as well as some kind of purpley green spots in here as well. Overall, I love this sweater. I did alternate skeins so that the color distribution was a little bit better. My skeins were not perfect by any means, and you can kind of see it here on the sleeves. I used the same skein of yarn actually for both these sleeves. I did one from the outside and one from the inside. As you can see, yeah, I didn't alternate the the strands on these. One sleeve looks different from the other, but since it's on either arm, I'm not gonna, you know, worry about it too much. Yeah. But yeah, oh my goodness, this is like the comfiest sweater I have ever put on. And I think I might want one that is in fingering, even though I just complained about how much knitting it was. Hohi's pattern for the V-neck boxy is actually a top-down pattern, so I might be looking for some yarn to do that one when I'm at Stitches. But yeah, the pattern is super well written, highly recommend. It was a lot of fun to knit. I really love this little amount of detailing at the top here. It was a lot of, yeah, overall, love the sweater. I'm super happy I finished it. I wanted to wear it immediately, but I didn't have time to actually wet block the sweater. So what I ended up doing is using the steam from the hotel iron, and I kind of steam blocked it that way because the ribbing at the bottom here was a little bit curved in, and it wasn't like nice and flat like it is now after I blocked it. Yeah, I just turned up the iron all the way up to linen and like top steam, and then kind of just like pulsed it at my project. Alrighty, moving on to works in progress. After I finished my sweater, I worked a little bit more on my Find Your Fade shawl. It is now about as long as I am tall. My screen name is Petite Weaver for a reason. I am 4'11", kinda. I think I'm actually like 4'10 3/4, but I rounded it up to 4'11 anyway. But yeah, so here it is. The last time I showed you guys this shawl, I was kind of on this medium gray color, I believe. And then I've added since then some Anzula Nebula in the elephant colorway. And you can sort of see it is a stellina based yarn. So it's nice and sparkly. And then I moved on to some Hedgehog fibers in the Salty Tails colorway, which is this kind of mottled grayish color here. I just started transitioning in my Seven Sister Arts gradient in the Transition Metals colorway. I'm currently working on the 4th gray, and then I'll move on to the 5th gray within this section. Then for section 12, I'll fade into my Knit Picks Hawthorne Kettle Dyed in the Blackbird colorway. And then last but not least, I'll fade into the 6th and final color of my Seven Sisters Arts gradient set, which is almost a jet black color. But yeah, I'm kind of coming up to the end of it. I'm super excited to have the project done. I want it done before I head off to Stitches, pretty much. So I should have plenty of time to get it done. The overall color transition of the shawl is way better than I had even imagined in my head. So I'm super happy with it. I'm super excited. I think it's going to be an amazingly versatile garment to have in my accessories kit. Moving on to the last thing I have to talk about this week, I managed to get quite a bit done on my Grello quilt before I left. I managed to quilt about 1/3 of the entire thing, so the kind of quilting pattern that I'm going with is for the yellow area. I'm doing more of a geometric kind of continuous rectangle patterning, and then on the lighter areas I'm doing a much more organic kind of like loops and swirls design with a few hearts thrown in. If you guys can see here on the darker yellow, you can see I did kind of like a spirally square and moved on and did lots more little, you know, geometric looking patterning. It is a little bit hard to see since I did decide on picking a very light colored yellow thread, and the reasoning behind it is so that any mistakes that I make aren't super obvious either on the light color or the darker yellow colors. Since it is my first quilting project with true free motion quilting, I knew that I wasn't going to be like the best at it. So it kind of hides most of my mistakes, and from far away you can see it looks like just a lot of lovely textures, and for the most part like these squares look like they're straight lines, but some of them weren't. Some of them were not super rectangular either. I kind of did like a weird like jump, and it was more like a trapezoid, whatever. You can't really tell because the thread blends in, so overall the look is still really nice. Yeah, I don't know if you can really tell, but right here by my fingertip, I quilted in a little heart. And like these little hearts that are hidden in the quilt make me so happy. I feel like it's like me kind of imbuing my love into the quilt. Everything about this I am enjoying so much. And yeah, I think it's starting to look pretty good. I did make some mistakes. When I was pinning the layers together, I didn't have it as straight as it could be. So here, I'll show you guys the back of this. I was laying this out on my friend's rug, and apparently it had a bit of a wrinkle when I was basting. So I don't know if you guys can see here, but there's a little bit of a pucker. And I'm just gonna have to live with it. I'm not gonna rip this quilting back out. I can't do that to myself, and I've accepted that this is my first quilt and I'm gonna have mistakes, and that's okay. I'm gonna move on. It actually really, with the quilting on top, it actually minimized the look of it a lot. Yeah, I'm just gonna leave it. It's not perfect, and that's what makes it homemade, and I'm gonna remember that, hey, this was my first quilt. This isn't going to be my best work, and that's all right. I can look back on this, hopefully 3 quilts, 10 quilts, 30 quilts down the line, that, hey, I've improved since the first one I've ever done. I was like kind of freaked out when I saw it the first time after I had done it, and I was going to be really upset, and then I kind of just let it go and just accepted that it's okay. I'll have mistakes. Like with all the other crafts that I've done, this is just a learning opportunity to be a little bit more careful in the basting part. I was way too excited about starting quilting that I didn't spend enough time basting. But yeah, I love the quilt so far. Even the backing looks great with the quilting on top. Yeah, I have another about 2/3 of this quilt to actually do my free motion work on, but I'm enjoying the entire process so far. And then I have to move on to binding the quilt. I've never done a binding before, so I'm a little bit nervous, but it's all a part of the entire quilt process, just like seaming and blocking is part of knitting. So it's going to be one more skill that I need to learn, and I'm really looking forward to it. And moving on to events, I will also be going to my first ever knitting guild meeting. I don't really know why I've never gone. They meet super close to me. So yeah, I'm going to push myself, and I'm gonna head out to my first Sand and Sea Knitting Guild meeting. One of the other podcasters, Jill of the Skein Enable podcast, is actually going to be guild president for this year. So I know one person already at least, and one of the lovely ladies at my spinning guild is also a member of the knitting guild, and she asked me to come. So I will be going for the first time, and I'm excited. That's it for me this week. Thank you as always for watching. I look forward to talking to you guys next week. Thanks. Bye.